What if the real reason couples argue about money has nothing to do with money? Welcome back to Better Conversations, the Life and Money podcast. And today's episode could hit close to home for a lot of people. Now, we've been taught, if we were taught anything about money, that it's about spreadsheets and calculators. It should be rational, calculated, and reasonable. But what if that's not actually how decisions get made? And why do couples who may love each other and be perfectly compatible see money so differently? Eric, let's start right here. Is money really math? Is it rational?
Well, money shows up as math, but it's experienced as feelings. And what I mean by that is, we all know that 2 + 2 = 4. It's math, it's easy. But 2 + 2 in financial decisions equals fear, insecurity, guilt, instant gratification, worry, concern, procrastination, all these feelings of emotions that really drive our decisions, the boredom, the desire to treat ourselves. These are all emotions that really drive the decisions, and we rationalize with logic. But like life and most of things in life, there's a good reason why we make decisions, and then there's the real reason that we never really talk about. And so we're really good at using logic to rationalize our financial decisions, but there's usually a real reason underlying them, and that's the emotion that drives them.
I love the comment you made to me earlier. We're making emotional decisions that we later defend with rational arguments. I love that line. Talk about that.
Yeah, we feel first, and then we justify with the logic. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that all decisions are going to be bad, or obviously are going to be regretful, but definitely emotions are driving us. And in general, emotions are bad financial advisors.
True.
It's not that we're unintelligent. In fact, two very intelligent people, given the same set of facts, can make entirely different decisions financially. It's not about intelligence. It's just how we're wired emotionally. And we can't really change that, frankly. It is, I say, wired. It's part of us. And it's important just to become aware of what that is.
And that's what you call the money mind, right?
Yeah, the money mind. I didn't come up with that, but I've learned a lot about it. And it's just this idea that we all have an emotional bias. So we all make decisions emotionally, and they're usually driven by 3 primary emotions. One is what we call a protector money mind, which is just this feeling that we're generally making decisions based on fear of being prepared for the unexpected, or losing our financial security. And this fear actually keeps us from spending money most of the time. And that it's real. The other primary emotion is what we call happiness. And this really shows up with this emotion of fear of missing out, fearing of missing out on life, and just wanting to, as my daughters might say, YOLO, you only live once.
Right. Yes.
And people with this wiring tend not to have much fear. And then the last money mind is interesting. It's often overlooked. It's what's a big part of me personally, but it's what we call a commitment money mind, which my first instinct, and those of us like me, our first instinct is to help others and to not let others down. So we feel this obligation oftentimes to use our money to support other people or to give generously. We all have some of these emotions, Patrice. And when I talk about making financial decisions, this is not going to the grocery store or just replacing tires on the car. Those are routine things, but we're talking about making major financial decisions. These emotions come into play, and we all have some of these emotions at different times, but what we know is that each of us is usually wired, so to speak, with a dominant. When you have to make a really important financial decision, all of us usually are dominant protector, going to be fear-based. We're dominant, we want to live life today, or we're dominant, commitment money-minded. We're trying to help others first. That's our first instinct.
Right.
It's good to have that understanding when making big financial decisions.
I was going to say, having that understanding will help you a lot, especially with your partner. Now, is your wife wired differently?
Most partners are different,
Okay.
interestingly. And that's where you mentioned in the opening, arguing. Surely couples argue from time to time. Maybe they open up the credit card bill at the end of the month together, or things like, right?
Yes.
But arguing might be a little strong. Sometimes it's just a tension around money. And oftentimes they just don't talk about it because of the stress and the tension. But yeah, my wife, Terry, she is what we'd call a protector. Her first instinct is scarcity, fear, what could go wrong,
Mm-hmm.
make sure we're secure. It's always kind of a defensive reaction to make big decisions. And I'm, like I said, a dominant commitment money mind. I'm generally wanting to help others or not let others down. And so there's not a right or a wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. There's not a right or wrong, but it's important to understand really what is driving you. Each of the money minds, protector, happiness, and commitment, have definite strengths, but they all have a shadow too that's a weakness.
We'll talk about the protector mind first. Break that down for us.
The protectors usually end up with the most amount of money.
I want to be a protector.
Okay. So they're going to be cautious, frugal, very thoughtful. They need lots of data, clarity, and confidence to make a big financial decision. They will typically, the downside is they will typically miss out on lots of opportunities.
Mm.
So they might end up with the biggest investment portfolio at the end, but they've probably sacrificed far more than they ever had to. So again, those people, when facing a large decision, need data, they need clarity and confidence it's going to be okay, because they're going to be wired to say no, or we can't do this. The happiness money mind, again, sometimes needs some of that fear. And they might live a more quote unquote rich life, but often get themselves trapped with financial insecurity and aren't really aware of how their decisions can play out long term, and they need some of that pushback as well sometimes. And the commitment money mind as well. I mean, the drawback, it's great to be generous and create loyalty and to help others. There's a couple downsides. That number one, the commitment money mind can underestimate the detriment to their own financial security.
Oh, okay.
They're always taking care of others and need to be, when you get on the airline, Patrice, at the beginning, when they show you what the oxygen mask is, what do they always say? They always say, put your own oxygen mask on first, and those dependent upon you second. And that's kind of what the commitment money mind needs to hear sometimes. Take care of yourself first and make sure that you're on track, and then help other people. The other part of the commitment money mind that is can be detrimental is you can weaken other people. So listen, I've talked about this with my own daughters, that my commitment money mind has probably caused me to support them more than is probably certainly necessary. And it weakens them sometimes to create their own independence and find their own way. And my desire to not let them down or make life better for them can not always be a good thing for them, and not always for me as well.
All right. Then I guess the really big question becomes, what happens in a couple when you have two different money minds and they collide?
The first thing is just to recognize, stop trying to win the argument.
Ah.
Okay. And start trying to understand the emotion. We have a tendency, most of us, to try to change our partner.
Yes. To fix.
To get them to our side. It usually doesn't work. And like I said, our dominant money mind is very difficult to change. So when couples collide, as you said, the first thing is just to become aware of the emotion. It's not to say to your partner, this is a bad financial decision, but it's more to say, help me understand what this means to you and why this is important to you, is probably the best place to start with that. It's usually not, there's not usually a disagreement about math, so to speak. It's just, there's usually an emotional mismatch.
Right.
between couples. And what we find is most couples don't really intuitively understand what the emotion is that's driving their partner or their spouse.
Well, let's pretend we have a protector and a happiness person, and they have an issue. They collide. What usually happens there?
Well, the protector is going to say we need to save. We shouldn't spend the money. And I'm sorry, what's the other one that you mentioned?
Happiness. Let's go with the happiness in this one. Yeah.
The happiness? Yeah, the happiness is say we need to live, and that you're limiting my life. They're not, neither is necessarily wrong or bad, but they're coming at it from completely different angles. And that's where they collide and get into this tension.
So a gentler approach to the other partner, instead of saying maybe you're limiting my life, might be, I'd really like to do this.
Yeah, I would start with 4 questions. First, if we can just sit down with our spouses or our partners and have the conversation, which is a big assumption, because actually most couples seem to just avoid the conflict or the tension altogether. But the first question would be, just what are you feeling about this decision? Second would be, what are you afraid might happen? Number 3, what does this money represent to you? And I guess last, if we get this right, what does this look like for you? So when you start to understand the emotion driving your partner or spouse, the decision seems to get easier. The tension tends to lighten when we start to talk about what the core issue is.
Well, this kind of sounds like what Purple Wealth is all about, right? Better conversations.
Better conversations, better alignment. And it's all driving towards what's important to you about money and why. And so when couples have this collision, it's really important not to try to change your partner, but to understand what's driving them, what's important to them, and why that's important. And try to find the compromise in what they need to feel like a protector. What do they need to feel secure? What needs to happen? Oftentimes in our practice, there's a protector that we agree just needs to have what we call a safety net, a decided number of dollars in their bank account at all times that they know they can just go access immediately. And it eliminates some of this scarcity mindset if they know they always have this backup pool of money or some sort of an account designated for emergency. It gives them the clarity and the confidence they need that they're always going to be okay.
Right. So you said you're not going to change somebody else's money mindset. You try to recognize it. How do you take that pause though? You've got to sit down with your spouse or your partner and say, we need to think about this. But what if the other person doesn't have that tendency? They don't want to think. If they're it wouldn't be a.
Well, the happiness money mind is pretty impulsive.
Okay, there you go. The happiness money mind then.
They're going to want to book the vacation or just drive out to the car lot this weekend and get the car or whatever, right? And cars, by the way, are a classic example of how we oftentimes make emotional decisions and we defend with logic of we need the new car to save gas mileage, or we need a new tire, so let's buy a new car. All kinds of things that we do, or we need the highest level of packages or premium luxury, and these are emotional decisions beyond just I need transportation. I'm not saying they're wrong, but it's important to just be aware. So that's why I said the pause is important. It's just to start to recognize in the moment, what am I feeling and what money mind is showing up. Again, I'm not asking anybody to change it, but just to recognize, okay, what money mind is showing up, and for couples to talk about that. Hey, I'm sorry, this is my protector money mind. It's not going to change, but help me understand and give me confidence that this is going to be okay and we're going to make this work. And again, in the happiness money mind, to recognize this may be an impulsive decision. Can we just pause and let's just talk about it and think about it? And what's the money mind that's really driving you to do this?
Now, you have an interesting handout, a worksheet, which I went through. It's for couples. Tell me about this.
The money mind for couples worksheet. It's not numbers. It's not a spreadsheet. It's just an exercise that couples can go through together to start having these conversations. Better conversations lead to better decisions. But it's just a process for working through this little worksheet. It takes about 10 minutes. And to let your spouse identify what emotion he or she is feeling, what's showing up, why is it important? And the key is, as a corresponding partner, is to just shut up.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't try to fix it. Let your partner vent and explain what this emotion is. And then take turns and just get on the same page.
I have the worksheet in front of me. Like I said, I went through it. It's very interesting. It's very simple, very straightforward. It helps you identify your own money mind. And I love that you say here, right in the worksheet, don't fix, no fixing, just listening, no fixing. And I think that's so important because among couples, there will be someone who wants to do the fixing.
Yeah. So generally, I always advise that clients, if they're not in the midst of an immediate decision, to just schedule some time to talk about this kind of stuff. Just schedule some time. And if you make it like a doctor's appointment, it tends to happen. But most couples don't even talk about money, let alone the emotions that are really driving them. Schedule some time to go through this together. You can, by the way, we'll link this in the show notes, I think. And also you can reach out to purplewealth.com, find it on our resource page, or just email me directly at eric.lee@purplewealth.com. It's useful. The challenge is taking the time to really honestly go through it and having an honest conversation with your spouse about what's important to you about money and why.
And then how do you use it with them?
We use it in our practice all the time to just pause and just help clients, again, become aware of what emotion is driving them. And again, not to criticize or not that it's wrong, but just to take a minute. So a protector money mind is going to be oftentimes very fearful of spending and using their money. Like I said, the protectors usually end up with the most amount of money because they're always going to be so frugal and not let go. It's so common. And, reminding the client, hey, this is your protector money mind coming out. It just is what it is, but let's talk about this. What do you need to feel secure? What do you need for more clarity? And then my job as an advisor to help clients understand how it can be okay and that it's a good decision. They're not being irresponsible. And there's a lot of guilt. People have a lot of guilt. The protector money minds especially have a lot of guilt with spending money. So it's just recognizing what that guilt is or what that fear is.
Have you seen people's money minds change? Or do once they're wired, they remain a happiness or a commitment or a protector?
I haven't ever seen them change their default. Like I said, it's like they're wired.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm in South Dakota. To give you an example, a lot of times how this works. I'm in South Dakota. Most of our state is agricultural based, ranchers and farmers. And today we meet people all the time whose great grandparents lost the farm in the Great Depression and that their parents grew up poor, eating rodents and the whole fear of the Great Depression. And that scars people. That has scarred people. It's a fact. It has scarred people and it goes through generations and it's learned. So this fear of money gets passed on from generations and it's real and you're not going to change it. So it's important to know that and give clients the grace that we're not trying to change them and we respect the feelings they have. But I do see clients that open up a little bit more, like this protector mindset. They'll open up and start to do things more with their money, and learn to maybe spend a little more, give a little more away, enjoy life more, and not always be worried about the doomsday scenario. So they're always going to be wired that way, but they do make progress in making changes. I've seen happiness money minds definitely be more cautious and ask for advice before being impulsive of, can we afford this? What's the downside? What does this look like long-term? Rather than just going on vacation and randomly buying a second home, which sounds crazy, but happens a lot. People get excited and emotional and impulsive.
Sure.
So our job, again, all throughout our practice and our website and our branding, is we do want clients to spend and or give away as much money as possible, which means without the risk of running out, but without dying with too much. And so our goal is to help clients spend and give away as much as they can along these guardrails of, again, maintaining security and, of course, not dying with too much as they define it.
Right.
It's tricky.
It is. And knowing more about yourself and how you think about money is a vitally important part of it.
I think that's the key. Awareness.
Now, tell me one more time, how can they get this worksheet? Because I'll tell you, it's like I say, it's simple, it's straightforward. You can do this.
Yep. Depending upon where you get this podcast, it could be in the show notes, but for sure, purplewealth.com in the resources page will provide a download, or just email me directly at eric.lee@purplewealth.com.
All right, Eric. Is there something we haven't touched on here that you want to make sure we do today?
I think that's great. Just becoming aware that money is not math. It's all emotional, and just understanding what emotions are driving you is the first step to making better decisions.
All right, great. So as Eric just said, money is not just about what you do. It's about how you feel and why. So before your next big financial decision, pause. Don't run the numbers. That's not what the pause is for. It's to understand the emotion behind the numbers and your thoughts. Because when you do that, you don't just make better money decisions, you have better conversations. And that's where everything changes. I'm Patrice Sikora with your host, Eric Lee, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Better Conversations, the Life and Money podcast with Eric Lee from Purple Wealth. If this episode sparked something for you, follow the show so you never miss a conversation. You can learn more at www.purplewealth.com or reach out directly. We'd love to hear your thoughts. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Purple Wealth is a separate entity from LPL Financial. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Any guests and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Purple Wealth. Individual tax or legal matters should be discussed with your tax or legal professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. There is no assurance that techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal.